Hey guys, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty for my weekly comic book review for January 18th, 2023. All right, all of you here. I have read 15 books this week. Yeah, it's a pretty good amount, so that might be why I'm running a little later than usual. For those of you unfamiliar, what I do is I review each book very quickly and I give them a score of 0 through 10, 7 being average, like old school grading. 70% is average because you're going to get more that fall around that. So 5, I know some people think, wouldn't 5 be average? It's in the middle. No, on the grading system is, you have to go rise above. 50% is failing. It means it's not good. So we're going 7 and above. So you're going to find a lot more in the 7 range usually. On top of that, you're going to hear these rattles. That's my notes, maybe some clicks too with some notes that I have. Anyway, so I read 15 books. I give you my top 3, my bottom 3 in the middle, and in whatever particular order I want to go. So today I'm going to start with the top 3. And first, my number 3 in the top 3 was Nightwing issue number 100, and I gave it a 7.6. It's the Power Vacuum Part 4, The Leap. It says, come join us with big smiles and even bigger celebrations as Nightwing hits its milestone issue number 100. Cheer how far we've come by looking through the decades at what was made and made Nightwing a belovable hero. Yeah, okay. What better way to celebrate than with the familiar friends and artists? Yeah, okay, so we have that. Then, with Heartless creating a lair in the heart of Bloodhaven to take Blockbuster's throne, Nightwing will follow suit, setting up a headquarters of his own with the help of some friends who help him who he is now, make him who he is now, of course. And, this issue is, and I think it's a nice touch because Nightwing is really... he's impacted a lot of the heroes, and I think this issue did a good job of sharing that and giving Nightwing some credit. The art, though, is a bit of a mixed bag. I'm not a real big fan. Some of it really lacks some detail in it, but it was, had some serviceable art as well. But the milestone, the high point of this issue to me, and I don't want this to get missed, was the absolutely excellent discussion between Dick and Bruce. I really think this was showing an elevation of Dick Grayson, and that's what they're trying to do here, putting up more in the forefront. He's earned it, and I think it's great. What I do hope that we don't see is him just taking over the Justice League, and they tend to not really show that, and it's still a big focus on the Titans. And I still think, even though they want to elevate the character, the Titans is the way to do it. Now, the writer is Tom Taylor. I'm not a big fan of that. Scott McDaniel, artist. Eddie Barrows, Mike Janin, I think, and Rick Leonardi. There's other ones too, I believe, but that's just a taste of some of the artists. Artwork, as I said, it was serviceable at best. Really, though, the story is what got it. It's moving the story forward, and let's see where Nightwing goes next. I'm enjoying it. Not bad. 7.6. All right, my number 2. Yeah, my number 2. I have to say I was not surprised. As much as I'm not a fan of this writer at all, I really am not. I don't care for his behavior. I think his behavior spoils a lot. But here we go. My number 2 is Batman Superman, World's Finest, number 11, where I gave a 7.7. It seems as well that a lot of the people who have been reviewing it have been enjoying it as well. We have a strange visitor. Yeah, this is Chapter 5, Key to the Kingdom. The saga of the Boy Thunder, not Boy Wonder, crashes to a close as Batman, Superman, and the Titans frantically attempt to save their wayward ward. And I will say it's not really coming to a close. It's setting up another story arc, but who knows how long down the line it will be. Only time will tell. It's written by Mark Waid, not my favorite writer, pretty ham-fisted too, but he does crank out some good DC books sometimes, so got to give him credit. And Dan Mora as the artist. I will say, good art in this book. I think the style's fitting it. The story continues to be really good in this, and it's setting it up for, as I said, a future story later on. And I'm interested to see where it goes. If you haven't been reading World's Finest, this might be one to go back to and pick up, especially if you are a Superman and Batman fan. Even though it's Mark Waid, wow, I have to give him props here. I am enjoying the book. Cover is okay. It's an interesting way. It shows you sort of what's really going on in the issue, which we don't get a lot of that anymore in the comic books. So I do really like that when a cover sort of actually, you ready? Tells the truth of what to expect in the story. All right, my number one. Now, this is interesting because it's had a couple falters lately, but otherwise this series has continuously been strong, and it seems I'm not alone. A lot of the other people that have been reviewing it agree with me here, and my number one pick was The Flash number 791, which I gave it a 7.8. Now, of course, that's probably higher, not as high as some people, but hear me out. 7.8 is it's pretty high. It's really hard for me to give 8s and pluses, okay? That's like a half to get. This is the 1 Minute Wars, continuing on. It's part 2. It's a 10-second week. I'm really liking this concept that everybody else has been slowed down because the attackers are so fast that only the Flashes really know what's going on. The heroes are split after alien speedsters known as the Fraction smashed into Central City and must attempt to fend off attacks while trying to formulate a plan. But there's no time for the heroes to take a breather, as besides the speedsters, Miss Murder is also hunting them, and she has speed hounds. Now, I want to get into this a little bit here because there's some good and there's some make you scratch your head. The art's been good in it. The cast of characters has been good. It's good characterization. I like the, matter of fact, Kid Flash and Impulse. I'm really liking the back and forth between them. I wish maybe it's an opportunity to give a spin-off for those two to have their own mini or whatever to see if they can carry a mini on their own. That might be a fun thing to do. Story's interesting, but I do have a nerdy nitpick. Okay, the villains here in the Fraction, they don't want to kill the speedsters, so they send somebody after them called Miss Murder. Do you see the problem here? Miss Murder hunting it. Well, we don't want to kill them. Last time we sent you, they were shredded, but we're going to send Miss Murder. If her name, they probably named this character wrong. I know they want to make it seem mean and everything. This character that looks a lot like the Batman Who Laughs or whatever. But Miss Murder is probably not the best name to name that character. Okay, so next, now we got the top ones. I think we're going to move next to the ones in the middle before we get to the bottom. And speaking of before we get to things, I just want to say thank you to these people here. Without them, these videos would not be possible. They continue to support the channel on Patreon and Subscribestar and really help out. And you have the opportunity to. If you don't find yourself in a financial position to help with as little as $1 a month, that's okay. I understand that. Times can be tough. You can help a lot by just liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Leaving comments help promote these. And I've noticed when I get a lot more comments, people are getting in and talking, the views go up because the analytics really help it. So if you don't mind, just put in a nice comment, even if, hey, I like this issue, you're wrong about this, whatever it is, that would really help the channel. If you want to help more, you have those other options for as little as $1 a month where you get special videos, special content, background music if you're a creator yourself that you can use. Another creator recently used one of the songs for one of their videos, and I really appreciated that. They did it in a short and they even thanked me in there, and I thought that was really cool. And I just said, hey, I want to help the community as much as I can, and you can help me too. All right, with that said, that Flash issue, by the way, writer was Jeremy Adams, penciler Roger Cruz. All right, so going into the middle, since the shilling is done, got my notes here, okay? Got to give me, because I don't want to actually talk about the wrong comic book, right? I want to make sure I do it right. And one of them that fell in the middle, which had a higher score than expected. As a matter of fact, the rating for other people's views on this book was higher than normal as well. And that was Batgirl's issue number 14. I gave it a 7.5. In my opinion, this is the best issue in the series so far. It did something special here. Something reminded me of G.I. Joe, which they did with Snake Eyes. It was a silent story, and it really works great with this character. And what I think saved it and made it so high by having no dialogue is it removed corny dialogue, and that's something that the book has suffered with, is some corny dialogue. And so with no dialogue, it really helps shield it from that. And the one kicker is, well, before I get in that kicker, let me tell you a little about the story. The rest is silence. This is a special all-silent issue of Batgirl featuring Cassandra Cain as she mourns her bestie, Stephanie Brown. Now, yeah, they don't tell us how or what happened here, just so you know. Who was killed by, you ready? Her own dad. If Cass doesn't act fast, she might lose Steph forever. Now, notice that. She's dead, but here it says you might lose her forever. So it's all a good thing that she has a single clue about where Clue Master might have taken Steph from where Cass was still body swapped with her. So with that said, I don't really think that Steph is dead. but she's not in good shape. We'll put it that way, but the whole issue focuses on her thinking that she's dead and going through it. The kicker I do have with it, I could have been better, is I think it would have been better yet if we also introduced Tim Drake into this. Not just her, Steph and her writings mentioning Tim Drake, but have Tim Drake involved, because Tim Drake is a huge part of Stephanie Brown's life. But of course, they're probably not going to do that because they're so bent on separating those two because of Tim Drake's new crappy relationship. As I said, this was one of the best relationships in DC Comics with Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown, so this is sort of an opportunity lost there. Still a great issue by Becky Cloonan, whatever her name is, sorry Becky, as a writer, as well as Michael Conrad was a writer as well, and Jonathan Case was an artist for it. I really like this issue. Even the cover art gives a lot to what's in the issue, and that was by George Corona, if I'm not mispronouncing that, which I butcher names, I apologize. So a good issue of Batgirls. Bravo to you on that book. I'm proud of you for that one. All right, the next one I want to talk about is one that I really did not like the cover. I thought, well, I understand they're trying to be artistic here. Not a fan of this cover at all. That was Black Adam number 7 of 12. I gave it a 7.02. Just not a cool cover. Doesn't make me really want to read it at all. The writer is Joshua Williamson, as well as Christopher Priest, which I really usually like Christopher Priest's work. And the artist was Rafa Sandoval, which is usually does okay too. All right, fair enough with that. Well, as I said, I don't care for the cover here. He didn't do the cover. That was Jonas Trinidad, I think his name is. Okay, so the cover, in my opinion, lame. All right, the interior art, much better. Much better. All right, now with that said, Malik White, now the superpowered Bolt. And I hate that name. I'm sorry, buddy. You need to change your name from Bolt. He's within the issue, this guy is trying to figure out the right name, and I hope that one doesn't stick because it's really not a good name. Not at all. And with that said, he contracted the same mysterious plague that killed Black Adam, which, of course, we know what's going on with Black Adam. However, Black Adam has vanished under mysterious circumstances, leaving our new hero alone, dying and trapped by, you ready, the Mirror Master. But is he? It's an interesting take on the Mirror Master, and so if you like Mirror Masters, it's a good issue to check out for that. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite. This series is just slightly missing the mark continuously for me to be a great series. I gave it a 7.02. Nothing bad, but it just could be better, and that's what I keep finding with this particular series, is it could be better. Now, with that said, speaking of better, okay, this next one, how do I put this? It was it was really good, and it almost made my top 3. I've been really digging this series, and if you like older style of comic books, I think you would as well. It's a mix of old and new, and it's Stargirl, The Lost Children, issue number 3. It was a real toss-up between this and Nightwing getting into the top 3, and I gave it to Nightwing because of the Batman issue there and the connection there. This is issue Stargirl Lost Children number 3 of 6. I gave it a 7.59. I mean, you can't get much closer than that. The art style really works for this series. I really like that. The characters are fun in this, and you're getting introduced to a lot of characters here. I think it's just a fun concept. Matter of fact, I like this concept so much in this issue, I think they might make a nice miniseries spin-off from this miniseries with them, because Stargirl comes face to face with the Eighth Soldier of Victory, Wing, and a whole host of sidekicks from the past. But amongst the familiar faces are many of Courtney's never even heard of before, or as well as the reader. Where are these kids from? What happened to them, and why aren't they erased from? And why were they erased from time? So we got these Golden Age heroes. So if you like Golden Age style heroes, I definitely recommend checking this out. Jeff Johns, I think, is doing a great job with this story. The artwork continues to be good by Todd Nowak or whatever. I once again butcher names. I apologize. Coloring was good. It's just a good, fun read. I really would like to see this concept from this story expanded into its own possible series. All right. So with that said, moving on to the next one. This one sort of surprises me that, well, it doesn't surprise me it's in the middle, but I'm just happy that finally one of the issues weren't at the very bottom, because this series has not been good, in my opinion. It's been consistently underperforming. I'm still not saying it's performing great, and the cover could use some work, but that's Avengers Forever number 13 with a 7.01. Here comes the goddess of thunder. King Thor's granddaughters have come from the far future to join the fight for Infinity's End. And they've brought a fiery old friend with them in the form of the most powerful version of Wolverine who's ever existed. Yeah, of course. Plus, Doom Supreme's grand plan begins to unfold. And at last, the true identity of the mysterious Avenger Prime is revealed in a completely not real surprising, not a big deal. The art's decent in this issue. Jason Aaron, this is one of the better ones of Avengers Forever so far. Still not great. The penciler was Aaron Cooter, which the art is decent, as I said, at best. And the story, once again, this one's better than most of them in this miniseries, but the Avenger Prime thing and the whole concept is pretty lame to begin with, but I'm going to drop a spoiler alert, so if you don't like spoilers, just jump ahead from here about 30 seconds and you'll be okay. Okay, here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler is, it's a Loki. Big surprise, right? Nothing that great in this issue. If you're not reading this series, I don't really think it hurts you any. You're not missing a whole lot. All right, another one that fell in the middle and didn't do bad was Deadpool number 3 with a 7.1 out of 10. Deadpool gets cockblocked in this issue by a giraffe. Yeah, Deadpool cockblocked by a giraffe. Read the issue, you'll see what I say. The art's decent in this, but the story really didn't move very far forward with this issue. Okay, have you ever had a stomachache so bad it felt like something that was trying to tear its way out of you? Well, Deadpool did too. It turned out he was right. It looks painful, feels worse, and it's not over yet as he has a Carnage-type symbiote trying to crawl out of him. The writer's Alyssa Wong. The artist is Martin Coccolo. Sorry if I butchered your name. Art's okay. Story was okay, and that's why it's just a grade of 7.1, which is okay. Just okay. Speaking of more of the okay, let's move on to the next that could have been better. Because, things could be better. We do with what we can. This one was a little better than I expected, but it had some of the pitfalls that I expected as well. And that was Invincible Iron Man number 2. I gave it a 7.05. Iron Man vs. Ironheart, it says. The assassination attempts on Tony's life continue as a familiar foe returns to take him down. It'll be up to Iron Man and Ironheart to stop him. But what secrets is Riri harboring with Tony, and will this change their relationship forever? So let me start here. Iron Man vs. Ironheart didn't happen, which even says in the premise here, when you read about the issue, they team up. This book got an okay rating by most people, but as I said, it wasn't any really better than okay, and he was not against Ironheart, so the whole cover is misleading. Riri is instantly unlikable in this issue. Yeah, Tony tries to give her some of a warning based on his knowledge, because what happens is she has the Mandarin's rings. And so he tries to warn her about that, and she's just sort of, I'm not going to listen to you because I'm better than you kind of mentality is what you get throughout this whole thing. And I think that's, once again, ridiculous. That Marvel loves to put Riri above all. I understand she can be smart, but why do we have to make Iron Man out to be bad? Jerry Duggan, the writer of this issue, I think really went to town to make sure how great Riri is and how she doesn't have to listen to Tony. The art's good. And I will say, it's interesting, especially in the last few pages of this issue. So Juan Frigeri, or whatever the artist's name is, sorry, I butchered you. The art's pretty good, but the story would have been better if we didn't make it a let's praise Riri Williams at the expense of Tony Stark Iron Man throughout the issue. I know Tony's having issues. He's having problems here, but just the way it's disrespectful to the character. And if you respected the character and are a person in life, you wouldn't go out of your way to be so disrespectful to them, I wouldn't think, in real life. And so this just sort of loses it. Now, the next issue is a throwback in a way. It's Spider-Man, The Lost Hunt number 3 of 5, which I gave a 7.21. Broken, Gregor continues the deconstruction of Peter Parker's life, breaking him down physically and mentally. Enter the dreamscape of your nightmares, Spider-Man. Okay, cover's pretty good on this issue too. The artwork all through is pretty good. The writer was J.M. DeMatteis, which I thought great. I love how we're getting some of these more classic style takes on. We're going back to the well of more writers from the past of Marvel, and I think that's a good move. Maybe I really do wonder if they're testing the waters and seeing how these books pan out compared to their new books. I think the better way to really test that is put one of these writers on some of the flagship characters again, and then do a comparison how they were selling compared to the more current writers. The artist was Kyle Holtz. He did pretty good too. Another artist was Bellardino Barbo. Once again, if I butchered your name, I apologize. There's also Elder Massasis. There's a few of them here, but decent art, interesting characters in this book. This could make a pretty solid trade altogether. I think this might be a great one to get in trade. And this is definitely, if you're liking Spider-Man, this is better than the other Spider-Man ongoing series right now. Both Spider-Man ongoing series are garbage compared to this. This would be a much better way to get your fix. All right. So with that said, this next one was one I was really pulling out with a hoping that this will be a good book, because this is a character, in my opinion, that's a great character that's been underutilized. And if you're an Avengers fan, you probably know who I'm talking about, because this character's been a staple in Avengers. And this was Wasp, issue number 1 of a 4-part series, which I gave a 7.06. Fashion designer, businesswoman, founding member of the Avengers, Janet Van Dyne has worn many hats over the course of her superheroic career. But when an old enemy threatens Janet and her fellow Wasp, Nadia, seemingly against his will, the Van Dynes will have to confront the ghosts in their shared history to get to the bottom of the mystery. And there we go. Al Ewing is the writer, so that scares me a little bit. I wasn't a real big fan of some of his stuff. I know people liked his Hulk, but I think it drug on too long, and he tried to make it bigger than what it needed to be and went a little too crazy. But we'll see where this issue goes, where the artist is Kasai. I can't pronounce that name. I apologize. I'm not even going to try. Well, I did try. I failed. And overall, though, this issue, the art's okay. There's a lot of action. And I will say, there's not a whole lot of story progression here for a first issue, but there was just enough to get you the insight of wanting to check it out. So hopefully that it'll be better. But here's this. How do I put this? I want to be nice here. She's a great character, but she deserves more good stories. She really does. Not just a short 4-issue mini-series. I hope that this will make people go, hey, Wasp is pretty cool. And the story's interesting overall, and I really, really hope Al Ewing doesn't mess this up. I can't picture him doing a 4-issue story. He tends to drag things out, but maybe I'm wrong, and I want to be proved wrong here. I want this to be good because I want more people to care about this character, because he's a cool character. All right, the next issue I want to talk about is Punisher, issue number 9. I gave it a 7.2 out of 10. Any chance that I had, that I felt that there was of Frank's past going back to what it should have been and not changed and rebooted is gone with this issue. After reading this issue, they pretty much said, no, we didn't interfere with his life at all. This is what it was. So they did go back and do a lot of hatchet job to Frank Castle's past. I'm not a fan of that at all, which makes me not want to like the book. I do not like that change. But the art is solid in this book. And I'm going to be honest here. It's an interesting story. I want to see what happens next. We got a lot of the heroes now starting to come together going, hey, we have to address this Frank Castle issue, which is really cool. So I am sort of on the fence here. I want to see what's going on, but I hate what they've done with Frank Castle. I would really like to know what your thoughts are of what they've been doing with Punisher and this Punisher issue number 9, which I gave a 7.2. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thanks, everybody. Alright, with that said, we're now going to hit the bottom 3. This video is going pretty long. Woohoo! Pretty long video. My number 3 at the bottom was Venom, because it's part of Dark Web, and I gave it a 7. I'm really not a fan of this Dark Web thing. As Dylan Brock finds himself renewed and reinvigorated by his descent, if you will, into the symbiote hive, Bedlam has come calling again, looking to finish what had started by killing Dylan and Venom once and for all. Luckily, an old friend is around to lend a crimson-clad hand. And it isn't Spider-Man. If it's who I think they're talking about at the very end of the issue, I don't get it. The writer's Ram V. The penciler's Brian Hitch. Not bad there in the artwork category here, so I can't complain. Art is okay. There's a lot of action in this issue, but it's not a lot of story progression here as well. I'm really not a fan of this whole storyline, so I'm a little biased there. So if you are a big fan of this storyline, good for you. Not me. I do think the Dylan with the symbiote design is pretty cool. I'll give it that. But at the end of this issue, I think this is the helping hand they were talking about, is Miss Marvel. Why? Why do we have Miss Marvel in this? She really doesn't fit the series in any way. I don't get it. I think it's just, once again, we got to throw her into things and try to get her, get her more popular. I don't know what it is, but we'll see. Maybe it's just me being an old man yelling at clouds. All right, this next one, my number 2 in the bottom. This one was a sad hit for me because I really wanted to like this series. I really, really did, because I think this is another one of those characters that deserves better and could be really cool. And that's New Champion of Shazam number 4. Now, it got a really good score from the people in general that I'm reading about, but I didn't think it deserved that score. Yeah, so all these people giving it a top score makes me wonder if it was loaded for reasons. And I'll give you my reasons I didn't give it a high score. Darla's missing while Mary was focusing on her duties as the new Shazam. Her now powerless little sister struck out on her own to help solve the mystery of the missing persons in the city. Now it's up to our hero to find the true villain before everyone is lost for good. I'm not going to go any farther in there. The writer was Jose Campbell and artist Evan Shanner. And so this has some benefits here. The art wasn't bad. It really wasn't. It wasn't that bad. So I like that in that regard for there. But here's the thing. This is the final issue. It should be a really good climactic issue, and it wasn't. It just didn't have a big enough build, I think. But the kicker in this is why I knocked it down so hard. It has absolutely horrid dialogue. It's another case when the writer inserts stuff in there to try to be negative towards the fans or put up a, in your face kind of thing. They need to stop this. It's forced. I'm going to show you this panel right here. Look at this dialogue here. This says a whole lot about what's wrong with some of these writers today. They're more focused on their own personal issues and less on what the comic should be. It really was sad. I mean, I was enjoying it up to this panel, and this panel sort of a slap in the face. Hold up, Shazam? Are you they call her Shazam, and then this villain says, Philly deserves better than trash like you. She's like, whatever do to you guys? He's existed. So it's once again, women are bad because they exist. No, I think if anybody has a problem with this, is they want Shazam. And they like the character Mary Marvel. So she doesn't need to take the mantle of Shazam. They like the character the way she is now. Just use her more, and we don't have to replace somebody to do that. But that's not how these panels are. Sort of in your face. If you don't like this, you are, a sexist or whatever. And that's just not the case. We like that character. We might like both characters. Let's be honest. Shazam, Captain Marvel's been around a long, long time. So yeah, it makes sense that he has some good fans, and those fans probably like Mary Marvel's Mary Marvel. So by making a shift, which they go out of their way to do in this issue, to say that she is Shazam, which then makes even less sense when you get to the very end of the issue, and Shazam, thinks appears, Billy Bastion, and he's now got to go help him. So now we got the same issue we run into with other things like multiple Flashes, which sort of handles it good, or Green Lanterns. It makes sense. It's a core. Flashes is a family. It makes more sense. But why in the Shazam family do we need 2 Shazams, right? We don't need that. We need a Mary Marvel that's written well and written good. And this is a common thing. 2 Captain Americas, multiple Spider-Mans. It dilutes the characters. Come on, they're already having issues sustaining people to care about Shazam over all these years. He hasn't had that much attention. They haven't done a ton with him. Few minis is all. Come on, let's make another series that spotlights on Shazam and his wonderful cast, his family there. That's what makes that book great. Mary Marvel and the other members of the family, a family of superheroes. They don't all need to be named Shazam. That's my argument with that, if you will. That's my nitpick. It just doesn't make any sense to me of why they would do that. But that's just me. Another thing too is another part of horrible dialogue is they're in the college and they're like, oh, we cut corners on building this college, so it's going to fall down. It doesn't have structural stability. What? That would never happen. I understand this is comics and you can, give some leeway, but that makes 0 sense at all. I mean, none. They would not cut back on stability of a building. All right. Whew. That was my complaint about number 2. Now my number 1 at the bottom of the bin, and that was Hulk number 11. Hulk Planet Part 3. Ryan Ottley both draws and writes this, you ready, action-packed page-turner that finds Hulk playing this planet's favorite sport. What? The planet-busting Godball. Yeah, that's what this whole issue is about. It's them pretty much playing a game, and it just does not work. This whole concept for the Hulk has not been working, and that's my opinion here. Whole issue has not been working. I want to like this series of Hulk, but it just doesn't work for me. The art is okay at best, but not the best really for Hulk. I like Ryan Ottley work, just not for this. The story is silly in this issue, and it lacks any depth at all. I think this book needs to get back to its roots. Maybe the old school Green Hulk with a different writing team. Ryan Ottley, I like his work in general. I think he missed it here. Missed the mark. There was nothing in this issue. Maybe, wow, this is really good. They're using planets as a ball. It's just lame. And I gave this issue a 6.5. Well, there you have it, everybody. The comics I've read. You might disagree with me, and that's okay too. Hope you liked the video, subscribe. If not, okay, tell me what you think there. Just try to be nice to people in general that are in the chat. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time for watching this. Until next time, keep it frugal.